Imagine a world where the shelves are bare, and the only food available is what you've stockpiled. This scenario isn't just about having enough to eat, it's about having the right foods to maintain your body's critical functions. One such food is powdered milk, which might seem mundane but holds a crucial role in emergency nutrition. Non-fat dry milk powder, sealed in airtight bags with oxygen absorbers, can retain its nutritional value for up to 20 years. This longevity is unmatched by any fresh dairy product, which requires constant refrigeration and is often the first to go in a crisis. The absence of fresh dairy leads to a significant calcium deficiency, which can cause bone density loss, muscle dysfunction, and cardiovascular complications. For children, inadequate calcium during growth can have long-lasting effects. Powdered milk, however, provides a steady supply of calcium and other essential nutrients, making it indispensable. Use it in grain preparations, flatbreads, soups, or simply stir it into water. A large container of powdered milk costs between $10 to $1 bags with oxygen absorbers to extend its shelf life. This simple action transforms a 2-year shelf life into a 20-year one. The importance of powdered milk lies not just in its nutritional value, but in its ability to maintain bone health and muscle function during prolonged periods without fresh dairy. Now, let's explore another overlooked survival food that plays a vital role in maintaining morale and mental health.
In a crisis, the monotony of eating the same meals day after day can lead to a phenomenon known as sensory-specific satiety. This condition occurs when your brain receives the same taste stimulus repeatedly, progressively reducing the appetite signals that make eating feel rewarding. This can lead to measurable drops in caloric intake, accelerated fatigue, and impaired concentration. Bouillon cubes, often dismissed as mere flavor enhancers, can combat this issue. By adding a cube to your meals, you alter the sensory profile, reactivating appetite and ensuring proper caloric intake. Additionally, dissolving a cube in hot water creates a warm, savory broth that has a stabilizing effect on mood. This is not just a minor comfort, it's a critical component of maintaining morale and mental health during prolonged periods of crisis. A package of bouillon cubes costs between 2 to 3 and can flavor dozens of meals. During shortage events, bouillon cubes sit untouched on shelves while other seasoning blends disappear. Quick action: stock several packages across multiple flavors and move them out of cardboard into mason jars with silica gel packets to prevent moisture damage. This simple step ensures you have a versatile and morale-boosting ingredient in your stockpile. Now let's delve into another overlooked survival food that offers a unique nutritional edge.
Legumes, particularly lentils, offer a nutritional powerhouse that is often overlooked in emergency food planning. While most preppers know legumes belong in a long-term food plan, the real insight lies in where you buy them. Mainstream grocery stores sell dried lentils at close to $1 per pound, but an Indian or South Asian grocery store offers a 20-pound bag for 60 cents per pound or less. This cost difference can be significant when building a stockpile. These stores also carry a variety of lentils that most American preppers have never seen, such as red lentils, black lentils, and split lentils, each with unique cooking profiles. Red lentils, for instance, cook fully in under 20 minutes without soaking, making them ideal for fuel-limited scenarios. Beans, the standard prepper legume, require overnight soaking and an hour or more of cooking, which can be impractical in a crisis. Red lentils provide a quick and efficient source of protein, fiber, iron, and folate. These nutrients are crucial for maintaining digestive health and preventing the serious disruptions caused by prolonged consumption of low-fiber foods. Stored sealed dried lentils can remain viable for up to 30 years. Quick action: find the nearest Indian or South Asian grocery store and buy the largest bag of red lentils they carry. The price will surprise you, and the cooking speed will matter more than you expect the first time you use a camp stove. Now let's explore another survival food that offers a unique blend of practicality and nutritional value.
Instant coffee might seem like an unlikely survival food,
but its role goes beyond mere preference. In any extended emergency, cognitive function degrades in measurable ways, affecting decision quality, focus, and motivation. Caffeine, found in freeze-dried instant coffee, has well-documented effects on alertness, concentration, and fatigue suppression. This is not a replacement for sleep or proper nutrition, but a modest yet real functional support layer for a brain already under pressure. Freeze-dried instant coffee is shelf-stable for 20 years or more and requires only hot water and 30 seconds to prepare, making it a practical option in a crisis. Additionally, caffeine has a mild appetite-suppressing effect, which can help extend food supplies without dramatically increasing hunger. The psychological impact of maintaining daily rituals such as morning coffee cannot be understated. Research on disaster psychology consistently identifies routine maintenance as a key factor in sustaining resilience and decision quality under prolonged stress. Familiar rituals provide continuity when everything else feels uncertain. A large jar of instant coffee costs between 5 $10 and is almost always available on shelves when essential food categories are already depleted. Quick action. Stock several jars of instant coffee and ensure they are stored in a cool, dry place. Now let's uncover another survival food that offers a unique blend of practicality and psychological support.
Lentils, each with meaningfully different cooking profiles. And in an emergency, that difference is practical, not just culinary. Beans, the standard prepper legume, require overnight soaking and an hour or more of cooking. In a fuel-limited scenario, that time has a direct cost. Every extra hour on a camp stove is fuel you may not be able to replace. Red lentils cook fully in under 20 minutes. No soaking, no advanced planning. Research on emergency cooking consistently flags fuel conservation as one of the most overlooked variables in survival food planning. And red lentils cut fuel consumption by more than half compared to standard beans. 1 cup of cooked lentils delivers around 18 grams of protein, 16 grams of fiber, and meaningful iron and folate content. That fiber number matters. Standard emergency staples, white rice crackers, canned protein contain almost no fiber. Prolonged consumption without it causes serious digestive disruption, which in a high-stress environment is a functional health problem, not just discomfort. Stored, sealed, dried lentils stay viable for up to 30 years. Quick action! Find the nearest Indian or South Asian grocery store. Buy the largest bag of red lentils they carry. The price will feed quids.
Surprise you. The cooking speed will matter more than you expect the first time you use a camp stove. Drop a comment below. Which of these are already in your stockpile and which one surprised you most? Number 8. Instant coffee. I know what some of you are thinking. Coffee is not survival food. Stay with this because the case here is not about preference. It is about how the brain actually performs under sustained stress. In any extended emergency, cognitive function degrades in measurable ways. Decision quality drops, focus narrows, motivation falls, sleep disruption compounds all of it. The result is reduced capacity to manage an emergency at the exact moment that capacity is most needed. Caffeine has well-documented effects on alertness, concentration, and fatigue suppression. This is not a replacement for sleep or proper nutrition. It is a modest but real functional support layer for a brain already under pressure. Freeze-dried instant coffee is shelf-stable for 20 years or more. Hot water and 30 seconds. No equipment, no complexity. Secondary advantage. Caffeine has a mild appetite-suppressing effect. Modest but real, which in a rationing scenario provides measurable support for extending supplies without
dramatically increasing hunger. And then there is the dimension that is hardest to quantify but genuinely important. For a large portion of the population, morning coffee is the most deeply embedded daily ritual they have. Research on disaster psychology consistently identifies routine maintenance as a key factor in sustaining resilience and decision quality under prolonged stress. Familiar rituals provide continuity when everything else feels uncertain. 5 to 8 to quantify a large jar. almost always on the shelf when essential food categories are already depleted. Quick action. One large jar takes up minimal space, weighs almost nothing, and addresses a dimension of emergency function most food plans never consider. Number 7. Pickling salt. This is the item most people do not even recognize as a preparedness tool. Not table salt, not sea salt. Pickling salt specifically. Table salt contains anti-caking agents and iodine fine in everyday cooking, but both interfere with fermentation and preservation. They cause discoloration in preserved foods and disrupt the microbial activity that makes fermentation work. Sea salt carries trace minerals with similar problems at scale. Pickling salt is pure sodium.
Chloride. Nothing else. Here's the tension most emergency food planning never accounts for. Every stockpile runs on one assumption. Your supplies will outlast the disruption. But what happens when they do not? When canned goods run out and the situation is still ongoing? Historically, the answer has been preservation. Brining, fermenting, music, and curing have sustained populations through winters, famines, and supply failures for thousands of years. These are not complicated skills. They require basic knowledge, appropriate containers, and the correct salt. With pickling salt and basic technique, fresh produce, garden vegetables, or foraged greens can be extended by months. And here's what most people miss. Fermentation does not only preserve food, it actively increases certain nutritional values and introduces beneficial microorganisms that support gut and immune health. The relationship between gut microbiome health and immune response is well established in current research. When medical access is limited, that immune support becomes a primary asset. A 4-pound container costs about $3. During every tracked shortage event, it sits completely untouched. Quick action. Buy 1 container and spend 30 minutes
Learning basic fermentation before you need it. 3 and 1 afternoon of knowledge could meaningfully extend your food supply when everything else runs out. Number 6. Ghee. Almost every stockpile has the same invisible gap. Not protein, not carbohydrates, fat. Most emergency food plans lean heavily on grains, rice, pasta, crackers. Moderate protein from legumes and canned meat. But dietary fat gets treated as secondary, optional even. Is not. It is biological. Vitamins A, D, E, and K are fat-soluble. Without adequate dietary fat, the body cannot absorb or use them. Fat is the transport mechanism for an entire category of critical nutrients. Without it, those vitamins pass through your system largely unused. A stockpile that looks complete on paper can silently fail at that level. Ghee is clarified butter. The clarification process removes almost all water and milk solids, eliminating the biological processes that cause ordinary fats to go rancid. Regular butter spoils within weeks at room temperature. Ghee stored cool and dark remains stable for 1 to 2 years without refrigeration, and real-world reports consistently put that number higher under good conditions. 1 tablespoon delivers around 120 calories of dense energy. It handles high cooking
Temperatures without breaking down, and it adds the kind of richness to plain rice or lentils that makes a meal feel like an actual meal, rather than calories consumed out of obligation. During shortage events, cooking oils and butter disappear fast. Ghee, sitting in the international foods aisle, is almost always still there. Quick action. Stock several jars. Ghee closes the fat gap in your nutritional plan and simultaneously makes every fat-soluble vitamin in your stockpile actually absorbable. Number 5. Tahini. This one catches most people off guard because it does not look like survival food. It looks like a specialty ingredient, something forgotten at the back of a cabinet after one recipe. That perception is exactly why it stays on shelves when everything around it is gone. Tahini is ground sesame seed paste. 2 tablespoons contain nearly 200 calories from healthy fats and protein. slow burning, sustaining energy rather than quick spikes and crashes. In a rationing scenario, that caloric efficiency matters. It also contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a complete protein source, genuinely rare in plant-based, shelf-stable foods. It is among the most calcium-dense foods you can store, delivering more calcium per serving than an equivalent amount of dairy milk. And then there is magnesium. Its deficiency builds quietly. Muscle tension that will not release. Sleep that does not restore. Anxiety that escalates without a clear reason. Research consistently links magnesium deficiency with elevated anxiety and disrupted sleep, though this area of study is still developing. Most core prepper staples deliver very little. Tahini delivers a meaningful dose per serving. Mix it with water and a small amount of acid, and it becomes a sauce that transforms plain grains into something that feels like a real meal. Stir into soup for richness. Combine with honey for a high-energy spread, or eat it directly when simplicity is the only option. Unopened, tahini lasts a minimum of 2 years at room temperature, almost universally on the shelf during shortage events. Quick action. Pick up several jars on your next grocery run. Complete protein, high calcium, high magnesium, dense calories. Almost nothing else at that price point covers that much nutritional ground in shelf-stable form. If this video has been genuinely useful so far, a quick like helps it reach more people who need it. Only if it has actually helped. Number 4, canned pumpkin puree. We are now at 890 12ers of kneading what the all ligament of BEP 5ers lowers. Mix it with water and a small amount of acid, and it becomes a sauce every point kembers that much nutritional ground in shelf-stable form. If this video has been genuinely useful so far, a quick like helps it reach more people who need it, only if it has actually helped. Number 4, canned pumpkin puree. We are now as Nightsidust won their games took
into the items that fill gaps so specific that most people do not realize the gap exists until they are dealing with the consequences. 1 cup of plain canned pumpkin puree delivers over 700% of the daily recommended intake for vitamin A. 700%. From a $2 can, make sure you are picturing the right product, not pumpkin pie filling. Added sugar and flavoring reduce its utility as a neutral ingredient. Plain pumpkin puree only, pure cooked pumpkin, nothing else. Mild enough to add to savory dishes without noticeably changing the flavor. Rice contains no vitamin A. Beans contain none. Pasta contains none. Freeze-dried meals have trace amounts at best. In a standard emergency stockpile, vitamin A is almost completely absent. Its deficiency follows a progression that starts invisible and becomes serious fast. First, night blindness, then dry cracking skin, which in any environment with limited hygiene or medical access creates real infection risk. Then progressive immune suppression. Research on populations experiencing extended food insecurity consistently identifies vitamin A deficiency as a significant driver of preventable illness. A stockpile adequate in calories and protein can still fail at this level.
Corn and pumpkin is not the only vitamin A source. Other orange and yellow vegetables provide it too, but in terms of shelf-stable, affordable, and consistently available options, it is among the most practical. Disaster relief organizations have incorporated plain canned pumpkin into nutritional programs and active crisis zones specifically because it delivers critical micronutrients cheaply, requires no refrigeration, and carries a 3 to 5 year shelf life. That is, organizations who have seen what prolonged vitamin A deficiency actually does choosing a $2 can as part of the response. Most consumers associate it only with holiday baking. That seasonal blind spot means it is almost always in stock when every other canned vegetable has been cleared. Quick action: buy at least a dozen cans, stir into oatmeal, add to soups using flatbreads. $2 a can, and it closes a vitamin A gap that most stockpiles leave entirely open. Number 3, dried shiitake mushrooms. This addresses a deficiency that forms almost invisibly and that almost no emergency food plan accounts for. Vitamin D. The body produces vitamin D through sunlight exposure. Regular outdoor activity maintains adequate levels for most people, but in any shelter-in-place
Scenario or any situation limiting time outdoors, that production drops faster than most people expect. The symptoms are easy to misread. Chronic fatigue that sleep does not fix. Low mood, disrupted concentration, a weakened immune response. Over months of deficiency, bone density begins to deteriorate. None of these appear dramatic in isolation, but together over weeks, they degrade functional capacity in ways that directly affect your ability to manage an emergency. Now, look at a typical stockpile. Rice, beans, pasta, canned vegetables, freeze-dried meals. Vitamin D content across all of those, effectively, 0. Dried shiake mushrooms are one of the only plant-based foods that contain meaningful bioavailable vitamin D. When exposed to ultraviolet light during drying, they synthesize and retain vitamin D2 in quantities the body can absorb. Research confirms this. UV-exposed dried mushrooms can provide a substantial portion of the daily recommended intake per serving. Worth noting that vitamin D2 from mushrooms is absorbed somewhat less efficiently than D3 from animal sources. So, this supplements your plan rather than fully replacing other sources. Beyond that, dried shiake mushrooms contain beta
Glucans, compounds with well-documented immune-modulating properties. Multiple studies show beta-glucan consumption increases the body's capacity to identify and respond to pathogens. When medical access is limited, that matters practically. Soak in hot water for 20 minutes and they rehydrate completely, adding real depth and texture to soups and grain dishes. The soaking liquid becomes a richly flavored broth, one of the most effective tools for making repetitive emergency meals sustainable over time. During every track shortage event, dried mushrooms from Asian grocery stores stayed fully stocked. Quick action. Pick up several bags from an Asian grocery store and seal them in airtight containers. Inexpensive, nutritionally strong, closes a vitamin D gap almost nothing else on a standard prepper list touches and makes everything you cook taste noticeably better. Number 2. Canned mackerel. This one directly reframes how most people think about protein in emergency food planning. Tuna is the default. Has been for decades. Every prepper list, every emergency food guide defaults to tuna. And during every major shortage event in recent years, canned tuna disappears within hours, sometimes within the first rush of shoppers.
canned mackerel sitting directly next to it is almost universally untouched. Why does everyone grab one and leave the other? Familiarity. That is the entire answer. And that familiarity has a real cost. A single can of mackerel delivers roughly 20 grams of protein, comparable to tuna. But the omega-3 content is where the gap opens. Mackerel provides over 4,000 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids per can. Tuna provides around 1,000 milligrams. According to USDA nutritional data, that is a roughly 4-fold advantage in one of the most critical nutrients your body depends on under sustained stress. Omega-3 fatty acids govern neurological function, inflammation regulation, and cardiovascular stability. Under sustained stress, the body accelerates omega-3 consumption and the gap. Rice has none, beans have none, pasta has none. Freeze-dried meals lose most of theirs during processing. A calorie-complete stockpile can still produce measurable cognitive decline, elevated inflammation, and weakened stress response. Because omega-3 supply collapsed and nothing in the plan was designed to replace it, mackerel closes that gap. Around 2 TARs per can, 3 to 5 year shelf life, no refrigeration, consistently available when the tuna shelf is already empty. Quick action.
Replace at least half your plant tuna supply with canned mackerel. Significant nutritional advantage. Lower cost, higher availability during disruptions. The only barrier is unfamiliarity with a food you have probably walked past 100 times. Number 1. Salt-preserved lemons. Everything else on this list has addressed a specific gap. a missing macronutrient, an overlooked vitamin, and underappreciated physiological function. This one is different. This addresses the single deficiency that is documented historically across centuries of recorded human crisis, caused more deaths and prolonged survival situations than starvation itself. Not because it is dramatic, because it is invisible until it is already doing serious damage. A vitamin C deficiency. Scurvy. Most people associate scurvy with sailors from 3 centuries ago. That distance is exactly what makes it dangerous in a modern emergency context. The physiology has not changed. Without vitamin C, the body cannot produce collagen, the structural protein that holds connective tissue together. After roughly 60 to 90 days of deficiency, the progression begins. Fatigue and irritability first, then wounds that heal slower than they should, then gum disease, joint pain,
and structural deterioration of connective tissue. Historical records from prolonged sieges, maritime expeditions, and extended famines document scurvy as a primary cause of death in multiple cases, surpassing direct combat or starvation in mortality numbers. Now, run through a standard modern emergency stockpile. Rice? No vitamin C. Dried beans? No vitamin C. Freeze-dried meals. Vitamin C is among the first nutrients degraded by the heat and pressure of that processing method. Bouillon? Ghee? Lentils? No vitamin C. You can build a large, carefully assembled stockpile. Adequate calories, solid protein, reasonable variety, and still develop a life-threatening deficiency within 2 to 3 months. Because this one nutrient was absent from everything in the plan, salt-preserved lemons solve this in a way almost no other shelf-stable food can. They are made by packing fresh lemons in salt and allowing them to ferment over several weeks. The salt draws out moisture and creates a brine that preserves the lemons at room temperature indefinitely, with no refrigeration required. No special equipment. As long as the lemons stay submerged, the shelf life is essentially unlimited. The vitamin C is retained in the preserved rind. Salt browndas laced one taldust in the pers. One preserely winned out of presumptions, one preserrias lemons life, one of remindus slice of preserrias remindusly. One brangislav, one talabis salmonts samfiting and amenately. Salt preserved lemon salve, one preserely, our cereas life slown, unlemon slamptus sumph.
Piece the size of a thumbnail rinsed, pulp discarded, rind, minced, delivers a meaningful dose of vitamin C while adding real complex flavor to soups, stews, grain dishes, and broth. One small piece per meal. That is the entire ask. The fermentation process also introduces beneficial microorganisms that support gut and immune health, an additional nutritional layer on top of the vitamin C content. Commercially prepared preserved lemons are available at Middle Eastern and North African specialty stores for around $8 per jar. Or make them at home with fresh lemons and pickling salt when lemons are affordable. Roughly 15 minutes of effort and a few weeks of waiting. During every track shortage event, preserved lemons remain completely untouched on specialty store shelves. Most shoppers do not know what they are, do not know how to use them, and do not know what they prevent. That gap in knowledge is your edge. Quick action. Find one jar. Buy it today. Learn how to use it. This is the lowest cost, highest consequence item on this entire list. And the gap between knowing about it and not knowing could be the difference between a stockpile that actually protects your family and one that quietly fails them after 2 months. That is all 11. Salt preserved.
Lemons, canned mackerel, dried shiake mushrooms, canned pumpkin puree, tahini, ghee, pickling salt, dried lentils from specialty stores, instant coffee, Bouillon cubes, powdered milk, everyone affordable, everyone shelf-stable, everyone consistently available during shortage events when standard prepper staples were already gone. The pattern is not accidental. When everyone builds from the same information, everyone builds the same stockpile. When a disruption hits, that identical stockpile disappears from every store simultaneously. The overlap in what people stock is not a sign of good preparation. It is exactly where the shortage appears. The real gaps in most emergency food plans are not in calories. Most people have that covered. The gaps are in omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, dietary fat, fiber, and the psychological continuity that keeps decision-making functional when sustained stress is compressing everything else. Every item on this list closes at least one of those gaps cheaply, reliably, from a shelf that is almost always full when everything around it is empty. A stockpile is not measured by how large it is. It is measured by how complete the coverage